So welcome to this SARE session, and my name is Jenny Anchondo. I'm here as your host and moderator for today. And gosh, we had part one last week. It was absolutely fantastic. And today is part two. Sometimes when someone joins for the first time on a part two, they think, oh no, I missed part one. Have no fear. Part one is actually on the YouTube channel as we speak. You will be fine to go back and listen to that later. You can do these two in reverse, no problem at all. But I will tell you today's session is rethinking our business in the post-pandemic and AI world. Again, part two of the session. So we're really talking about how to prepare for the artificial intelligence-driven business world of tomorrow. We're talking about ethical considerations. We're talking about being innovative leaders in this post-pandemic world. We're talking about managing teams, bridging baby boomers to Gen Z. We really are going to get into a lot, but I wanted to give you some background on our presenter today, just so you understand the depth and the wide range of knowledge that she has. Her name is Claudia Herrmann, and I have been able to introduce her on these sessions many times before. And I will say I even used one of the meditations that she taught us about last week and really, really loved it. So she always brings the goods. She was born in Mexico City, Mexico. She is currently the director of minority outreach for the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So I know many of you joined from all over the country. Many of you are here local to North Texas, so you'll be familiar with that chamber. So what she does there, she organizes a series of business training seminars for aspiring entrepreneurs, Latino entrepreneurs specifically, as well as events for minority business owners. She's also really big in the women's conference area. She engages in labor and business skills training throughout the Community Entrepreneurship Academy, and that's through the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce. Now, so you hear all of that. And then I will also tell you this, she's also a lawyer. She's licensed to practice throughout Mexico. And when we look at her specialty area here, it's in franchise and distribution law. So that's why this is so particularly helpful for what we do. She's a business consultant with more than 20 years of experience in that in particular. She has so many different certifications. And then this is something that I think is noteworthy because this is what I've done for most of my career, is to work in the journalism field. She's been a columnist for several different newspapers. She also hosts masterminds. So when I say she brings the goods, she brings the goods. I will also mention one more thing, and that is that she manages a real estate business in Mexico, in addition to her coaching businesses. And then if you would like to speak to her in English, German, or Spanish, feel free, because she is fluent in all of them. Now, without further ado, this is where I become a participant right along with everybody else. And Claudia Herrmann, take it away.
Perfect. Well, those of you guys who were in last week, I mean, it might sound like it was a little bit esoteric and woo-woo because, yes, I spoke about our mindset and our emotional state as business owners before actually today talking about our businesses. Or even if we're an employee, and we manage a little realm within a company or a big realm within a company. We have to understand that if we're all messed up in the head, if we don't have our emotions aligned with our own mental state, and if we're completely disaligned with the corporate culture of our own business or the business we work for, then everything might go wrong. Or to apply Murphy's Law, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So let's start with the premise that every business is a people business. It doesn't matter if you are, let's say, a storefront, an owner, and you have a brick and mortar store, like a coffee shop, and you're dealing with customers every day. Or if, on the contrary, you're an IT specialist and you can tell yourself, well, I don't really deal with people. I deal with computers and I go into the architecture of the software or whatever. Well, it's still a business, people, because on the other end of that is a person. And we're not there yet where AI will completely take over your hiring process. It's not there yet. It might be in the near future, but for now, you got to talk to humans and you have to interact with humans and report to humans And it doesn't matter if they're called client or if they're called the boss or if they're called colleagues within, your company. So every business is a people business. So let's keep that in mind. So this time we're going to dive deep into what is, work and the workplace, the business landscape. And if there is a common denominator, and I think especially since the early 2000s, is that both the workplace and the business landscape have changed and are constantly changing at such a fast rate that sometimes it's a little bit difficult and even intimidating to keep up. So now, some things that were not in our minds in the past have to be on our minds right now, like placing an emphasis on risk and security planning. How about hacking, hackers and hacking into systems? I mean, everybody who has a credit card, I'm sure, knows about how banks, how companies like Home Depot, like all these big companies have been hacked, and your information is out there in the dark web. Your social security has been sold probably, I don't know, 50 times by now. People trying to apply for credit in your name. It happened to me, by the way. So I'm talking out of a really bad experience I had years ago. So, we have to factor that in. If we have a company, and it doesn't matter if it's a very small upstart business and we're, the whole orchestra, we are the owner, we're the manager, we are the operations person, we are the salesperson, we're the driver. It doesn't matter. Our data is always at risk. So we need to implement systems that will protect it to the extent possible. Because it might be considered trivial, but it's our information, it's our database, it's our brain power that has been put into the business. The other thing is that, and that shifted a lot since the pandemic, there is a lot of emphasis now on online sales. So those companies that do not have a strong e-commerce platform, they are at risk. And the same goes for digital marketing. And now when we log into a bunch of companies' website, we're asked to provide our cell phone number, and then we get inundated with texts from that company or from others because they do sell our information. We become the product. And then, of course, and we're going to talk about this, is the adaptive AI. So that is the technological shift that's going on right now, big time. And then from our customers' point of view, we have to also keep in mind that the world is shifting towards sustainability. So our consumers are changing, our clients are changing. They want to know that whatever we sell, especially when it comes down to product that they are ethically sourced, that when we offer services and we do have, let's say, employees, that we treat them right. So a lot of those things matter, and they matter especially to the younger generations, to the Gen Zs and the Gen Xs. So if our business has that market as our target market, we need to be very mindful what they want. And of course, I mean, the older we get, our preferences and our consumer habits are changing. And even the older generations, let's talk about the boomer generation, the Y generation, they have to make the adaptation of buying online, of no longer reading the newspaper in the paper form, but they get it on their iPad or whatever, their computer, or even their cell phone. So we have to take all this in mind. This slide here talks about the entrepreneurship wheel of life. And those of you, if you are a life coach, you know that it has its counterpart in the personal coaching world. But here I made this adaptation of that wheel of life because we have to strike a balance between the different areas of our business. So, of course, there's the business idea. And believe me, we have to change and adapt that idea to new circumstances. What was good maybe 10, 15 years ago might not work so well right now. So adaptability is important. And by that, I'm not meaning, just change for the sake of change. I mean that we really need to think things over, keep those things that do work, and do away with the things that don't. So on the left side, of course, are our customers, our clients, which are super important, And also, let me tell you this, our employees are our first customer, but we'll talk about that in detail. Then, of course, we have our suppliers. Even if you have a service-based business, let's say you have, I don't know, maybe a cleaning business. Well, one of your suppliers, it's gonna be the products that you buy to clean houses or offices. So also an accountant might be a supplier because you do probably need somebody who can helps you with your bookkeeping. And of course, then you have the product and service itself. So how can you improve on it? Because believe me, every area of business is getting more, it's facing more and more competition. Then strategic alliances. Maybe those are really important in this world where we cannot do it all by ourselves. Marketing and communication. We might think, well, I have my clients. Well, guess what? You're gonna keep your clients in the loop about new things of what you're doing, and you gotta use social media, for the younger generations, TikTok, and for the older generations, Facebook, everybody across the board, Instagram. If your business caters to professionals, there's LinkedIn. If you need to advertise, through videos, and by all means use YouTube, your website, which by the way needs to be constantly updated and changed. And because people get bored if they see the same thing over and over again. What about blogging, vlogging? Why don't you position yourself as the expert on something and then you share it? Then, of course, you have infrastructure, it's your systems, your processes, and your resources. And branding. By branding, I mean positioning your brand. And it starts with you because you are selling yourself before you sell your business. People come to you not because you have such a beautiful cleaning company out there. They come to you because they trust you to do a great job and that you hire professional cleaners to come with you and service a client. Then, of course, the financial part of the wheel, which is if your personal finances are already messed up, there's a good chance that your business finances will be equally messed up. So make sure before you apply for a credit for your business, make sure that your own personal credit score is way up, preferably over 800 or something. And then time, that is such an important factor because especially small business owners, they do everything, they burn out because they work nonstop, they sacrifice family time, they sacrifice their free time, they end up sick. And then they ask themselves, is it really worth it? So you have to make sure that once you leave your office or you leave your storefront, switch gears. Don't talk about business with your family. Relax, go to a spa, pamper yourself, and by all means, take at least one day off so you can recharge your energy, which is so important. Okay, so here, again, I am borrowing from the personal coaching world, a balanced wheel looks like what you have on the right side. But most people have something like what's on the left side when it comes to their business life. So make this wheel and draw out, like a little web. Okay, so how is, you know, we go back, how am I treating my customers? Am I getting complained? Am I happy with my suppliers? Can I actually manage to free time for myself? Are my personal and my business financials okay? And then you you can work on that wheel so that you can approximate the balanced wheel. So you know that all areas in your business are working well. And actually, if a challenge comes in your way, you know that you're able to address it. So what has changed? Well, I would say pretty much everything. So your customers change. They're not the same people yesterday as they are now because we humans, we change all the time. We have different roles. We have different things going on even throughout the day. So ask yourself, what is changing in your main customers? What new needs do they have that you can address? Same here, supply chain. I recently went and took my car to the dealership because it had a faulty sensor. And I was talking to the manager there, and I said, well, when I bought my car, they had so many supply chain issues that I had to wait 8 months to get my new car. 8 months. And finally, it came in. And they said, well, we still have supply chain issues. So it's still an XYZ month long wait. So take that into consideration, especially now, that the political landscape is not very stable. Today we have tariffs, and tomorrow they're going to get delayed, and then next day we have new tariffs and whatnot. That can affect us. And especially because so many products that we consume, business wise and personal wise, come from China. So everything is more expensive. I'm going to start a new business pretty soon. So what I did is I was collecting supplies because I knew that they would get more expensive. And yes, it happened. They're twice as expensive now as they were in April. So keep that in mind. Then your product and service, if your customers are changing, well, ask yourself, what can I change product wise or service wise or both that can meet the needs of my customers? And then probably you will have to adjust your margins and your profits. Why? Let's say, again, the supply chain issue. Let's go back to the cleaning business. You might not be very inclined to hike up the prices to your customers because you might lose some of them. So basically, you have to absorb the increase of the price of your cleaning supplies. So that will shrink your profits. So you have to figure out how much of a shrinkage can you take in your business. And then, the business mix. By that, I mean, in your business, well, what else can I add? What do I need to subtract? What else needs to be changing so that my business stays competitive? And then, of course, do your benchmarking work. Benchmarking means basically seeing what the competition does, not for you to just copy it because you think it's a good idea, but you can see the trends and the shifts in your market based on what your competitors are doing. So check out your competitors and see, are they growing? And if so, what is the key to their growth or for their growth? And ask yourselves, do you have a game plan? And that touches a little bit on the personal side of things. Do you and your employees want the same things? If you run a business and you have employees, you have to be aligned, or you need to make sure that they're aligned with whatever you want. You may have to rethink your values and your culture. You know, I have seen, and that is so funny, oftentimes companies have a mission statement. It's so long and so complicated. And one time I had a chance to ask a CEO, well, okay, what's your mission? What's your mission statement? He didn't know. So if you don't even know what your mission is as a company, well, you're in deep trouble. And keep it simple and stupid, because if you can remember your business, your mission and your vision, it's easier for you to also transmit that to your customers and, of course, your employees. Then the purpose, as I said, the consumers are shifting. Are your customers still wanting the same things as before, or do they want to see something new? Ask yourself that, right? And then your vision, is your direction still the same, or do you need to shift something there? So then we have the human factor, employees. Your first customer is your own employee. I will repeat that. Your first customer is your own employee. So the new world is facing the challenge, first of all, of finding employees, then finding employees that are high quality employees, and thirdly, retaining those employees. Oh my God, that's such a problem. I get that complaint all the time from our chamber members. First of all, one of them told me, well, I have to deal with the office vampire, the vampire that sucks all the life out of the company with their bad attitudes and their gaslighting and whatnot. Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to take the really tough decision of letting them go, even if they're family members. You know, uh, there are some businesses that are run by families and very successfully, but some of them, yesterday I was talking to a business owner, and she lost her business because of the infighting with her family. She and her family didn't get along when it came to taking business decisions, and everybody was heading in a different directions until they had to close the company. So imagine that. Okay, then you have a bunch of employees. No pun intended, and nothing against generations, but oftentimes, the very young people, they think they deserve it all and they don't want to work and do their part. So they're just, scrolling in social media instead of working. And then how often don't you find people who turn in their resume, and they say they're nothing short, after Wonder Woman, or or Superman, and then it turns out that they don't have the qualifications that they told you they did have. So they were lying to you. Again, you might have to consider getting rid of those employees. Okay. The next part is reevaluating your own leadership. And that means, okay, your core values with respect to your business. Sometimes you don't really need to have to change much, or basically nothing at all, but sometimes, yes, it's time to realign your values, according to the new world and new environment. And especially now, because, younger people, they tend to be a little bit more emotional. And, if they show up at the office crying, what are you going to do? Well, show a little bit of empathy, right? And again, it's your mindset and it's your emotional attitude. Uh, it's what are you going to do when you find people around you who have the wrong attitude? And it can be the clients. Sometimes, the clients are not right all the time. That's very true. But how do you convey the message? Okay, no, you're wrong, but you have to do it in a very respectful and gentle manner so as not to turn your client into somebody who will give you really bad reviews, especially now on social media. And then again, regarding leadership, it's one thing to be righteous and do the right thing, and another completely different thing is to be self righteous. And I really don't like those people who do good things just for everybody to know that they're actually doing quote unquote good things, because all they're doing is massaging their ego, not really trying to be nice and helping somebody out. So leadership starts at home, and then it gets transferred over to the company. And please, I mean, if you do something nice for anybody, just give a shout out to everybody so they know, oh my God, he or she is so good. Well, check your motives there. That's all what I can say about it. Then the next part of leadership is, your vision. Where do you want to take your company and or your job in the near future? Again, visualize. Do that last exercise, one of the last exercises I presented last week. Figure out where you want to be in the next 3 years. Where does your company want to be in the next 3 years? And then, you can also chart out where do you want to be next year, this time next year, June, we're almost in June, so June 2026. What do you communicate? What is your level of communication with your clients, with your family, with your employees, or with your coworkers? Are you managing a high level of communication? Are you clear in expressing what you want and what you're thinking? Because oftentimes you have a great idea, but if you cannot convey it, then it will not get across, and then there will be misunderstandings and bad feelings. Again, leadership is about attitudes. Do you wake up feeling positive and talking nice, positive things to yourself, or are you in a real negative mood and you take that to your workplace? Again, technology. We're going to talk about AI in a little bit, but one of the most important things is, yes, you have to be up to date on that. The challenges, not everything is always, sunny, beautiful days. Sometimes there are rainy days and thunderstorms and whatnot. So are you prepared? Are you equipped to deal with those challenges? Then it's that attitude. Yes, I can do it. I can live up to those challenges. I can be prepared. I can have a game plan for all that. And again, I mean, the next part here, the umbrella, yes, I mean, things will happen. There are so many circumstances that we cannot control. So how are we going to weather all those storms? And then the next thing is accountability. Am I really accountable for my actions, my words, even my thoughts? So think about that. And it boils pretty much down to attitude. We talked about this last week, so I'm not going to really go into that, but check your attitude all the time. And then honesty and integrity. You got to walk the talk, not just talk the talk. So that is so important as an employee or as a boss, or, if you're the owner of a business. People, believe me, will notice if you're not honest. If you're lying to them, people have like like a sixth sense for detecting BS. They might not tell you. They might not say absolutely anything, but they will think it and then act on it. So make sure that, everything there is aligned. Your level of commitment. If you work for somebody, are you really committed to your job? And if not, ask yourself, okay, why am I not completely happy at my job? Why am I not committed anymore? And it's time to go look for something else. And if you're the business owner, okay, make sure, first of all, that you're committed and then that your employees are equally committed and make sure that they are. Okay, so this quote is by Marcin Alexander. Your business is as good to you as you are good to it. And by the way, he's my husband. He retired after, well, 40 something years as a lawyer. He started out as a prosecutor, then chief felony prosecutor, then he had his own law firm. And this was his philosophy. Your business is as good to you as you are good to it. So keep that in mind. Always be professional. And when you are professional, you keep your customer happy, your customers. Because as it says here, a satisfied customer is the best business strategy of all of them. Okay, remember, people vent on social media. Okay, so the last thing you need is an unhappy employee or an unhappy customer telling all their circle of influence, in social media, don't go to that place, don't do business with such and such person because dot 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 dot. You cannot afford to have that amplifying power of social media working against you. The other thing, and I'm circling back to that. Remember, I started out by saying every business is a people business, so build your connections. So previously, the thing was, okay, you are the sum of the 5 people that surround you. Well, now the thinking, among business trainers is you are the sum of the 20 people that surround you. So you have to look up and try to connect with people who are wealthier than you or who have built a bigger business than you, even if they're your competitors. Why? Because you have to aspire to grow. Then there's people at your same level, let's say your coworkers, or, let's say you're a CEO of a, I don't know, 5 to 20 people company. Well, find CEOs who are in your same position and then talk about your common issues. And then, of course, there's people who make way less than you, or, maybe they're satisfied with having less, but they're equally valuable. So expand your business network. If you're not exactly a people person, make an effort to be sociable because you have to network. In today's world, you need to expand your influence. And how do you do that? By networking. So when you do network with other people, please remind yourself to always be honest and act with integrity and be genuinely interested in other people and what they have to say. Become an active listener. Why? Because again, if you're just waiting for a response to counter it and make your own opinion make heard by everybody or impose it on others, people will, they will turn away from you. They don't like that. And why don't you give something before actually asking to receive something? And then, the other thing is follow up. I do have procrastination issues sometimes. For me, it's not that easy. The challenge for me is always following up after meeting so many people. I'm getting better at it. And the other thing is ask questions out of real curiosity, not just, like to fill an empty space in a conversation. And then, of course, use valuable resources. Right now, all uh, browsers, like Bing, they come with AI integrations. Then, if you're a business owner, well, why don't you contact SCORE and get, workforce development for yourself and your employees? Get certified. If you're a woman, get yourself certified as a woman-owned business. And then, of course, I mean, go to educational resources. Right now, it's so important to always learn and keep on learning. One of my favorite universities, I call it university, is YouTube, because whatever you need to find, you ask, you prompt it to tell you about tutorial about using Canva, tutorial about blah, 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 blah. And you will find so many free resources. And then, of course, I mean, there's this online universities like Udemy and Coursera. So it's just a matter of looking into it, right? And remember, education never ends. You can go get old and older, and you always have to continue learning because the world changes so much and at such a fast pace. So then, if you're already a business owner, you have to pivot, do when you started out, you probably had a business plan. Well, those business plans need to be updated every 5 years. And do your SWOT analysis, what means your strengths, your opportunities, your weaknesses, and your threats. And usually the threats are outside threats. So redo this analysis. And actually, what I would suggest is doing it every year or every 3 years, because that is so important, to check your company where it's at. Or, there's a chance that if you're an employee, what if your company merges with another company? So will your position become redundant? Get prepared for that. Revamp your resume. Okay, and always, update that business plan. So these are the parts of the business plan. And always start out and think out, what needs to really change, what can stay the same, and what needs to shift maybe just a little bit. Okay. And then think about again your unique value proposition, because maybe when you started out with your business, well, you had a unique value proposition, but now you have so many competitors who look into what you are doing that they're copying you. So think about what makes your business unique, different, special, and better, especially now, especially after you've already broken ground and positioned yourself. But you have to think about repositioning yourself. Okay, there's always opportunities. I mean, I chose these pictures because these were companies and businesses that grew exponentially during the pandemic. So some are here to stay, like homemade pickles. I mean, if you go to even to places like Sprouts, I mean, some of them are now selling locally produced products from local people, from farmers. Elder care, oh my God, we're an aging country, so that's more and more relevant. You know, things that can be delivered to your home, even fresh products. Maybe board games, well, maybe they might be a little bit on the way out, but used cars, there's still a huge market because of the supply chain issues. Sex toys, well, maybe they're a little bit on the way out, but during the pandemic, that industry exploded exponentially. So at home tutoring services, those came to stay. Uh, Remote medicine, that is the norm. Sanitizing, well, yes, some areas, some industries still require sanitizing. Deliveries, oh my God, everywhere you see those Amazon trucks, right? And those logistics companies that are sprouting up, because that is a business model that's growing and growing. And let me tell you this, the big companies that we see today, the common thing that they have is that they were all born during times of crisis, all of them. So that's why I chose those pictures. So what are your opportunities in your area? Okay, and here we have a very sad case study. I drove by the other day and I saw Joanne Fabrics and it says store closing, we're bankrupt, blah, 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 everything must go and whatnot. So I looked into it. Well, they didn't keep up with their competition, which is mainly Michaels and Home Goods and Hobby Lobby. They didn't have a very strong online sale platform, and they made some other errors. So in managing the company. So the end result is that they went into bankruptcy for the second time. And this time they're not coming out of it, unfortunately. So we're going to lose that company. Okay. So, yeah. And the other thing is instead of having lean inventory, they have massive inventory. And of course, I mean, the fakes and dupes. Yeah, unfortunately, companies nowadays have to deal with those knockoff products. And of course, tariffs, because they were importing a lot of the stuff and then everything got more expensive. And if you really don't know, where to go and how to resource everything, first of all, I would suggest, go and find trade organizations, get a consultant, get a business coach, expand your network, get mentors. SCORE is beautiful because they have all these mentor resources that you can use, and most of them are free. Then, if you need financing, well, there are banks. There's the SBA, the Small Business Administration, the Small Business Development Center area. And of course, there's chambers of commerce. And here I'm going to make a small commercial about our chamber. We're all about training our business owners on how to do business. And some of them, if you're not here in Texas or if you're far away, if let's say you're in Austin, I mean, I won't expect you to come to our chamber, but become a member of the Austin chamber or wherever you are. If you're here locally, yes, come to us because, again, chambers of commerce offer networking opportunities that you probably won't get anywhere else. And you have a system of support of like-minded peers. And then, of course, there's a whole network of service providers and professionals that you can tap into. If you go into our website, grandprairiechamber.org, you will see a business directory tab. And there you will see all 700 and whatnot businesses that we have as members. So if you need a resource, all you need to click is click on the category and it will take you there and you can find someone. And if you are a chamber member, it doesn't matter if it's ours or some other chamber, because if you put, in your stationery, in your website, proud member of, let's say, the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce, people will immediately, in their mind, elevate your status. They will think, oh, that business is trustworthy because it belongs to a Chamber of Commerce. So, let somebody help you with analyzing the shifts in the market, the opportunities, the threats, and of course, your financial business life. So use your resources. There's so many out there. And then, of course, check your company culture. So the invisible is everything that I put down here, like purpose and the authority, your learning opportunities, how much do you enjoy working for your own company or as an employee even? You can be self-employed, your personal space, and then of course, I mean, there's the upper part of the iceberg, and it can be something as trivial or seemingly unimportant as your dress code. A lot of companies and even smaller ones do have a dress code, some of them not, If you're in the gaming industry, well, probably your employer will be more than happy to let you work in your PJs, even if, even if you're in a space where there are other people, as long as you produce the best results. But in some industries, I mean, showing up completely casual is a big no-no. So make sure, that you align your appearance with what is expected of you. In some cases, location is so important, and it's maybe it's time to shift your location of your business. So check it out. The other thing is, when you think about your company culture, make sure, again, because your employees are your first customer, that they are engaged and that they are satisfied. The other thing is, don't miss the opportunity to be innovative and creative and changing things for the better. Then check your decision-making process. Are you still making the best decisions for the company given the world it is in today? Secondly, where are you going to attract talent from? Things are changing. And then, of course, check your image and reputation. And why don't you conduct a few surveys? And please don't flood your clients with surveys. I mean, it's so annoying when, like recently I ordered a nice set of pens because I like fountain pens and, nice writing instruments. I hadn't even gotten the products and I was already flooded with survey requests. I mean, I haven't gotten the product yet. So how can I evaluate it? I mean, that is so annoying. And even younger people don't like that. So make sure that you use the surveys wisely. Then the other thing is, it's really time to rethink, what are your driving factors? And check all the things that can affect you. And now let's talk about AI. So this guy here is Raymond Kurzweil, and he is Google's chief futurologist. And he predicted back in 2015 that there was going to be a massive change in technology in 2023. And guess what? It happened, and it's called AI. And now it's called adaptive AI. So anyway, everything that you see now, from new things like chatbot or Otter or Claude, even the old one like Wix or Teamviewer or even Zoom, Google, everything is integrating AI right now. So keep that in mind because you need to learn about it. And here's some really interesting statistics. The power of AI is doubling every 3.3 months. So these are the stats. So right now, the IQ of adaptive AI is at 5,000. And the human IQ, the maximum IQ that a human can achieve or have is 200. So right now, it's exponentially more intelligent than even the brightest human brain on planet Earth. So keep that in mind. It's going to be changing a lot. So the big question is AI, is it a friend or an enemy? So yes, I mean, in areas like medicine, oh my God, I mean, there's going to be a time where there's no more margin for getting misdiagnosed and human error because the machine will accurately look into our body and say, this is what you have. And this is, and then the doctors can say, okay, based on that information, I can accurately treat your whatever you have. So AI, it's a very personal matter. You can either think of it as something really positive, and in my point of view, it has more pros and cons, or you can view it as a real threat. So on the positive, Bill Gates predicted that the 2-day work week will become the norm. So Elon Musk predicted that we're about to enter an era of universal income, but not just any income, high income. And then, of course, I mean, global GDPs, gross domestic products of countries, could increase exponentially. And then again, Raymond Kurzweil predicted that in about 6 years, nanotechnology will be merging with the human brain. So that means that we're going to have like those tiny machines inside our body that can actually alert. Let's say you have a tiny machine and that can alert us, oh my God, you're having too many cancer cells. Let's go to the doctor and check you out and catch you in stage 1 or stage 0 before, like now, some people go to the doctor when they're already in stage 4 or 5, and, the entire diagnosis is okay, well, get your affairs in order. On the negative, yeah, well, underdeveloped countries that are not keeping up with the AI shift, unemployment and poverty. If you only work 2 days a week, or if there's a jobless future coming our way, well, then what's the meaning of life? I mean, humans are born to do things. Um, you know, Overpopulation, but from immortality, not from having, too many people being born. But if people stop dying, then what? And then, of course, the doomsday scenario where you have a society of superhumans versus the ones that are not. And of course, and that's the other thing. I just got a video from somebody that sent me that the human brain in this scenario, where you can have tiny bots or whatever, moving around within your body, the human brain can be hacked. So what does that mean? That you're like a computer, and somebody might make you do things you don't want. So you get manipulated. So here again is Vishen Lakiani, and that, I'm basically finishing. So he came up with a vision for his company that he teaches, and it's called SOPAC. And it's an acronym that means simplicity, keep things simple, stupid, right? Opportunity, detect the opportunities, your unique value proposition. And the other thing for him, importantly, is love what you do, love your business, love your work, and then your sense of purpose, and then your sense of abundance. Everybody has a different definition of what abundance or prosperity means. A Lamborghini might not be everybody's cup of tea, but, just having a nice home that they can call their home. And for some, well, I already have 3 Lambos in my garage, so now I need a plane. So everybody is different there. Your calmness, your state of mind. Again, we circle back to that. If your mind is racing all the time, well, that's not good. And then time, make time for yourself. And then ask yourself, what will make you better? What will make you different? What do you want your employees and customers think of you and your company? And how will you keep both of them happy and loyal? That is so important, because again, you cannot always live on the 1 or 2 customers that are your main customers, because circumstances change and they can change, or they can no longer be around. They will stop being your customer. But those that you do, and look for new ones to keep happy and make them loyal to you. And remember, it all starts with you. And with that, I'm done. Thank you. I'm open to questions now.
Here's the question, Claudia. I mean, when I look at the overarching theme of what you're saying, is it's like we still have to be good people. We still have to be real people. We may ultimately become people who work 2 days a week, but we still have to be doing the work and being there. What do you think is going to make somebody stand out in the AI world? Is it just having those interpersonal relationships?
It's a combination of factors. First of all, yes, your network. Secondly, your adaptability to the new technologies. If you haven't updated your website, now it's time to do it. And they all come with AI integrations right now. Third, use social media. Get a social media manager to help you with promoting your business. you cannot do everything. There's so much on social media. Like if you just look at social media groups, and if you can narrow it down to your own industry, you will see that there's probably 20,000 groups there. So have somebody manage that for you. And yes, you know, your personal values that you reflect, that is so important. Because as I said, people have a BS detector wired into their brain. We come wired like that. So we know when somebody is trying to feed us a lot of baloney. And as I said, we might not say anything, but we think it.
So, Claudia, I can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise today. We really, like I said, I was able to glean so much from you. I was able to try that meditation you shared with us last week, and I was happy to have you back again. And I'm sure that we will hopefully reconnect very soon. Thank you so much for today.
And thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate the opportunity to, again, share what little or much I know. More little, I mean.
Oh, no, you've been wonderful. So here's what I want to tell everyone. Here's what I want to tell everyone. If you missed last week's session and you would like to sink your teeth into that, or perhaps you saw it and wanted to, go back, learn about what she said, send it to a friend. It is out now at sarah-national.org. That's where you'll find the YouTube link. You can also search Sarah National on YouTube to find that. The session from this week will be out a week from yesterday. So it comes up in 6 days on Wednesday, and we'll see you back here next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye, everybody.